Mr. Minister, Excellencies, friends, colleagues, everybody who came this nice day to Lithuanian Pavilion. I'm very happy to say that today we have very nice opening of very interesting exhibition, Transformation Strategies, European Architecture as Caregiver. And this exhibition came to us from another Expo Pavilion from Ireland, and will stay here at least for a month. And it is about famous European Architecture Awards, Mies Rohe Awards. And today, at this opening ceremony, we are not alone. We have many of people who came here, and I'm very happy and very honored to share today's presentation with Pietro di Matteis, who is advisor on public diplomacy at the European External Action Service and Deputy Commissioner General for EU participation at Expo 2020. Online we have Minister of Environment of the Republic of Lithuania, Mr. Simonas Gentvilas. We also have curator of Mies Award Foundation Barcelona, Ivan Blasi, and we have president of Lithuanian Association of Architects, Ruta Leitanaitė. She is also online.
Hello.
And well, first maybe I'd like to ask Mr. Pietro di Matteis to start this event here.
Thank you very much, Romas, for giving the floor. So, Minister, Commissioner General, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As Deputy Commissioner General for the European Union at Expo 2020, it is an immense pleasure for me to welcome you to the opening of today's exhibition, European Architecture as a Caregiver. The exhibition showcases some of the winners and finalists of the EU Prize for Contemporary Architecture, Mies van der Rohe, since 1988. So it's really an established prize, which we're very happy to have here today at Expo, a day which marks also the opening of the Global Goals Week at Expo 2020. This is really a pleasure for me because actually I love architecture and I'm actually also, beyond my role as European Union Deputy Commissioner General, also City Councillor in Brussels, in Saint-Gilles, Les Communes, actually very dynamic in terms of urban regeneration. So I hope to see many of these projects also coming and inspiring our colleagues in Brussels. Special thanks for the organization of this initiative goes to, of course, the Mies van der Rohe Foundation, the European Commission Department for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture, and specifically Ugbekar and Jutta Kasner, the Pavilion of Ireland, who've been hosting actually this exhibition, as you mentioned, Romas, until a couple of days ago. And of course, the Lithuanian Pavilion that will be hosting it for another month. And we are really delighted by this beautiful space that you put together. I think really it feels that it was conceived for the exposition, and I really thank you for making this happen. With more than 70% of all population today expected to live in cities by 2050, and considering that building and infrastructure account for 40% of greenhouse gas emission, it's clear that today architecture has a role to play to tackle global challenges, especially climate change, especially considering European Union objective to reducing greenhouse gas by 2030 by 55% and becoming the first carbon neutral continent by 2050. And this will be possible thanks to the EU Green Deal, as you know, the EU post-pandemic recovery plan. This is particularly important because for centuries, architecture not only has been, of course, a way how we live, but actually has been showcasing our culture. So if we think how architecture has been showing prestige, how it's been showing the beauty and technology, how we've been developing our city for centuries, it has really an intrinsic important role for Europe. European cities have been developing extreme important techniques since you know, the Greek temples, the Roman aqueduct, Gothic cathedral, Renaissance cities actually aimed at developing the best space for citizens to live in. So nowadays they're becoming, and they want them to remain, despite COVID, a place where people can meet and exchange in the agoras back then, or in the piazza or the square of the market of the past. Today, even more important, I think that's what also the Foundation Prize really highlight, is the fact that there is a new wave of human-centric architecture, whereby architecture also have a real important social role to facilitate interaction, living side by side of different culture and social cohesion. And we know how a well thought through urban regeneration project can actually really improve the quality of life of people in a neighborhood or in a city all together. In this light, the new European Bauhaus, as you know, the new initiative that the European Union has been launching together with the architects world in the European Union, is trying to create bridges between the world of science and technology and the world of culture, connecting it to sustainability to deal with the challenge that we are facing today. So if you think that we bring together climate change and the inclusion and social cohesion objective of our societies, then it's clear that this prize really is very important, because exactly connect these two dimensions, sustainability and living together, better together with quality architecture. So to conclude, on behalf of the European Union at Expo 2020, I really we should thank you for being here today in person and virtually. And I really invite you to dive into the exposition that you have here at the beautiful Lithuanian Pavilion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I know now that we have one more architecture lover with us, and you will be invited once again, not only to represent this exhibition, but also to announce this year's awards at the end of this opening ceremony. Now I'd like to give the floor to Minister of Environment of the Republic of Lithuania, Mr. Simonas Gentvilas, and just floor is yours now.
Thank you, Romas. Dear Mr. Matteis, dear Mr. Blasi, dear colleagues of the ministry, dear guests who are attending the ceremony. It's a pleasure to have the exhibition in the Lithuanian Pavilion, which is thought of to present the sustainable form of design, meaning the wooden structures. We hope we gave some flavor of Nordic style buildings, which would be considered as a new normal for the Nordic environments, and the European Green Course, which also focuses on capturing a lot of CO2 into wooden carbon structures all around Europe. We are very happy to have Mies van der Rohe exhibition in our pavilion, because it represents the sustainability ideas which are represented all over the European architecture and urban planning traditions all over Europe. Europe has been a continent to export most of architectural and urban planning ideas throughout the New Worlds and Asian cities, and we have been good examples of how to not only make cities sustainable, fit and resilient for changing climate or shifting transport systems, but also to make a social inclusion. Social inclusion has been one of the probably key points for European architectural and urban planning tendencies in recent decades, and we have been leading with our prime examples also in Brussels, which has suffered a lot from the segregation, both from bureaucrats and the immigrants groups, and this has been good examples of recent awards which have focused on the rejuvenation projects in Bordeaux and in Amsterdam, where local residential quarters and parks has been refurbished into something new and has created the new structures with also perspective and respect for the local identity and history. In Lithuania, we are also focusing a lot on new urban tendencies, and the biggest focus is to deconstruct the cities which are coming from the Soviet modernist style buildings, and to give a life and social inclusion there. So we have continuously participated in Mies van den Rohe exhibitions and award competitions, and some of our architects have gone in the top 10s of among the prize giving ceremonies. We haven't reached yet the top 3 or the top positions, but we are hoping for big success. And to finish here, just another thank you for the organizers to place the pavilion exhibition in our premises, and I'm giving floor to my good colleague and Ruta to pursue our good examples of Lithuanian architects. Thank you again, and best luck in Dubai.
Thank you, dear Minister, distinguished guests, dear Romas, dear Ivan. First, before beginning to talk about our contribution to the exhibition presented in this pavilion, I would like to say that this is not a coincidence that the exhibition of this award is presented here at Lithuanian Pavilion, because it shows 2 things. One thing is that architecture in Lithuania is perceived as an area of culture and economics and creation and technology that is very important to Lithuania at governmental level. Another thing that I wanted to stress, that presence of this exhibition in Lithuanian Pavilion means that Lithuanian architecture is a part of a family of European architecture. And I am very happy to be witnessing this, the opening of this event. Now I will talk shortly about our contribution to this exhibition, because the main exhibition features the best architectural examples that were finalists for the Mies van den Rohe Award, but also we have a video presenting contemporary Lithuanian architecture built in 2019-2021. So these are the very, very fresh examples of contemporary architecture in Lithuania. And all of them, they got some awards, national or international ones. So these are 7 short videos, and I will name them all. One is Paupys district transformation in Vilnius. This is a huge territory, and the transformation undergo, I think that it lasts some 10 or even 15 years, and now it is finished. Another project is Vainai Palace reconstruction and transformation into a public place. Then there is a project of Nida Quay reconstruction. This is a reconstruction of a building that was designed and built during the Soviet time. Then we have a project of Alia office reconstruction. Once again, this is a reconstruction project where a building that was derelict was transformed into something new. And then we have a reconstruction of a public space, which is the main public space in Kaunas city, that is Laisvės Avenue. And then, curiously, we have 2 awarded infrastructure objects that are bus station in Vilkaviškis and bus station in Kaunas. So I really hope that you will enjoy the video, relaxing and seeing very good architecture from Lithuania. Thank you, and I give the floor to Romas again.
Thank you, Ruta. Thank you, Minister, if you are still with us. But thank you, Ruta, both for your introduction and for video, which we are already enjoying. On the left, you don't see that space where exhibition is displayed, but video is already going on. And now I'd like to invite Ivan Blasi, who is curator of Mies van den Rohe Foundation, responsible for awards, for this main award. And I hope that Ivan not only introduce himself, but not only exhibition, but also will maintain some discussion between Vilnius and Dubai now during some 10-20 minutes. I give you the floor and expect very interesting discussion.
Thank you very much, Romas. Thank you very much, Pietro. Thank you very much, Ruta, and also Minister Gentvilas for sharing today's presentation of the exhibition and now having this opportunity of this conversation, speaking about the topic of the exhibition. So this exhibition behind me presents 20 works of architecture from the European Union Prize for Contemporary Architecture Mies van den Rohe Award. which have something in common, which is that they have been the result of transformations. Of course, we can think about building new, but maybe that could be, or we could discuss about that being an exception, that we have a lot which is already built and that can be reused because of the quality sometimes only of the structure or of the materials, of the spaces, and so on. But this transformation is also taking place in different ways. Sometimes it's heritage, old buildings which are protected and which need to be updated for climate reasons, sound issues, also new technologies which need to be adapted to these buildings. We have some exceptions like in museums. Sometimes it's also public spaces, so to improve how people gather, how people meet in these places, like the square in Skanderberg, for example, in Tirana. But there's also factory buildings, which have some beautiful, really strong structures, which maybe are not in use anymore, but that can still be transformed into something else. We also see a lot, and as the minister was speaking about, housing, collective housing, blocks of housing on the outskirts of many of our cities, which need to also be updated, but which can be updated and transformed and improved, like in the examples of Bordeaux and also Kleberg. And then we also have to speak, or we can also speak about how transforming the landscape is something that we also have to have in mind. And the example from Vilnius is the Razio houses, which are this kind of transformation of a space in between the rural area and the city and the urban area, where there's these hills in Vilnius and where there's this collective housing which was built, and it was being done very subtly, very carefully to protect also the existing forest, what is natural there. So I think that there's several kind of topics that we wanted to speak about, we wanted to discuss with Ruta, and also if Minister Gentvilas is following now. But I wanted to ask you, Ruta, about this importance of the heritage of the 20th century, you know, this modern movement, sometimes we can call it Soviet architecture of housing blocks, which, well, after some years need to be renovated, and how that is being tackled, let's say, from the Association of Architects.
Oh, Ivan, you are really straightforward and hitting to the most sore point of our actual architectural topics. Yes, housing from Soviet time is one of the most heated topics in Lithuania. And I can see that, for example, the projects of Lakaton and Vasal, they are very bright examples and direction we want to head to. And Lithuania has a considerable stock of modernism, Soviet housing, which is in a very, very bad state. And we tackle with various problems, such as legal, social, technological. All the flats are private property, as you may know. So you can imagine how it is hard to implement large-scale measures. And the prefabricated housing built some 50, 70 years ago is worn out, not energy efficient and not attractive to the inhabitants anymore. Additionally to the poor physical state, this type of housing doesn't correspond to the current needs and way of life of people, and often is perceived as dull, gray, and visually not appealing. But today, and maybe for 10 or 15 years already, there are several different governmental renovation programs implemented by different countries as well in Europe, but usually it all ends with insulation and energy efficiency. That is, we are better with energy consumption, but not a real step towards the quality living environment is made. So we at Architects Association, we had started an initiative which is called Holistic Renovation of Soviet Housing, and it is our response to the mentioned New European Bauhaus invitation. We are trying to raise a movement to create a model and methodology and probably to implement a pilot project of something more, with improvement of each flat, common indoor and outdoor spaces, at the same time keeping the visual quality and architectural unity of the whole quarter. And of course, the renovation process should include the inhabitants. Additionally, we search for chances for the new financial and legal tools that would allow participation of different stakeholders, private and public, in renovation. Last but not least, the renovation should not exclude the most vulnerable social groups that usually dwell in such a housing. It should create an attractive living environment for everyone. So we are in the middle of a process or at the beginning of the process, but we have a support from the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Culture, and we are heading towards the creation of methodology that probably the state will be able to implement. So hopefully in a couple of years or in 4 years, we can present something for the Mies van der Rohe Award, even better than Lacaton and Vassal had done.
I'm sure. One of the big challenges that also happens in my country is that most of the housing stock, the social housing, is also private. And in France, it's the other way around. It's mostly public. So although it's not common use, I mean, the example by Lacaton, it is somehow a little bit easier. Maybe we could ask Minister Gentvilas if you can also add to what Ruta was telling us about these initiatives to see what can be done with this these housing, these blocks, and these communities.
Yes, it might be a growing problem, but we do have a good examples also in rural cities, which are not the capital city, Vilnius, where the municipalities are taking the lead and actually gathering together the society and the owners of the flats. So we don't have this. We already have communities there which are present, which are in contact, but to reshape the environment, we need the leadership. And sometimes it's so much decentralized that the municipalities are taking the lead. And we do have good examples where the architects are being taken together, and it's not a public procurement by social housing association, but it's more facilitation by the municipalities. So we are probably having a good examples in upcoming years, because rejuvenation projects are ongoing in several cities. Some of them will pop up as a good example. Some of them will pop up maybe as examples to not to be learned from. But that's how the life is. But in our case, I know you are sitting in Dubai, which is hot and air conditioned. In our case, the rejuvenation starts mostly because of energy measures, cost saving in housing, and going towards the passive housing, and that's where initial initiative is coming from. And then to attach value added to the space, we need architects, good urban planners, and sometimes it's paralleled with additional housing initiative, which is for families of social housing, to put some extra buildings in around the living quarter to modernize the space, and that's where the new functions are coming. So I think it's very important for modernist housing blocks and quarters to bring new functions, bring new citizens, bring new lifestyles, and to mingle up them. And so it's not only about the vision, about the image, but it's also about new functions which are necessary for those residential and mostly sleeping quarters. So I think there are good ideas upcoming, and just happy to learn from the best of examples in the Europe.
Yes, and to make this possible, something that we see in this really good video, well, the 7 videos on the different projects that we can also be honored to have in the archive of the EU Mies Award, is the issue of physical connection. Though this means stops or transport stations, the bus stops or train stops and so on, which I think is also important to improve the places where we wait for transport, but also transport itself. Ruta, could you maybe highlight some aspects of these projects that you also kind of decided to add into these videos and which speak about transport?
Well, I think that these examples of infrastructure objects such as Vilkavišis and Kaunas bus station have been awarded not because of some governmental or political solution. This was the pure success of a very good architect's work. So it was a kind of coincidence that it was a bus station. It could happily be some commercial or some cultural object as well. But I think what is really important here, where the success lies, is that the architect and the architects understood those, transportation system objects, not only as something technical, but as a public space that could contribute to the whole city as well. This I am saying regarding the architectural image that they had created, the way that they reacted to the urban surroundings, and also the way how they created a place where the citizens want to gather and they want to come. So these bus stations are valuable very much because they are creating a new public space and inviting citizens to use them. But also, Ivan, if I can ask you a question, we have started with a discussion about, governmental political decisions, about the forces that are making architecture to happen or not. The exhibition of Mies van der Rohe also highlights the excellent work of architects and also some proactive approach of the architects. So can you elaborate on how the jury making the selection of this exhibition, what do they wanted to highlight regarding the work of architect and innovative mind of architect?
Yes, in some minutes we will get to know the 40 works that the jury shortlisted from 532. So it was a thorough work during several months, looking at all the works online, meeting online, and finally we were able to meet together physically, and there they were able to discuss and reach some conclusions which are not easy ever. I mean, it's always kind of leaving out some things, although you would like to have them there. So it's very interesting to see it from outside, from the organization, all these discussions. And one of the topics that was really, really important for all 7 jury members was the issue that we're presenting here, no transformation. It's not that everything is a transformation, as I said before, but how to think about a way of being sustainable, which has to do with ecology, but it has to do with the reduction of the use of energy in the construction, but also thinking in the future of the use of that place. So, and how we will be able to use less energy during the lifespan of whatever kind of building. So these were some of the topics that were important for them. And also, those that look for inclusiveness, so be it in dense urban areas or in less dense areas, in rural places and so on, see how communities are finally the ones that make, after a building is built and opened or a public space and so on, and then obviously there's that community with whom you might have, or the architects might have developed the project from the very beginning, or in some cases, at least they take over and they are the ones that are making architecture alive. They are continuing the act of architecture by kind of, again, transforming it, adapting it, making it its own, and therefore making it successful. And so this is something that was very, very strongly kind of highlighted. And so it's interesting that there's a coincidence with what we decided with the European Union to present, in the pavilions, first in Ireland, now here in Lithuania, as one of the main mindsets, maybe a change of mindset also towards the future. And you were speaking, Ruta, about public space, and I think it's very interesting to connect it to public transport areas, but I think that also Minister Gentvilas, you are in charge of the urban transformation of the territory in Lithuania. So is there also any specific kind of plans to think or competitions about this public space? And then maybe, Ruta, you can also add about the role of public space in Lithuania.
First of all, I think the public space experience is a big challenges nowadays because of pandemics, and public transport is also a public space, and we are doomed to avoid each other for a certain amount of years nowadays. So we are getting back to our families, isolating from each other. So public space actually deteriorates because the cultural events cannot happen. The families are detached, and the spontaneous meetings are less and less keen to happen. But in order to force it, we are having index of and we are bringing up new methodology how to plan a public space together with the citizens. This is a short period project which should finalize by the mid of the year, because public spaces are in many cases very monumental in Lithuania, and they are not aimed for public gatherings, and we have to reconstruct them. And many cities are looking back into public spaces because we have experienced a big suburbanization period in last 20 years, and now citizens are coming back to cities. And to reshuffle public space is one of the key priorities for probably every town mayor, and there's a methodology being brought up in our ministry, how to make a successful urban public space. I like to say that there's 3 ingredients necessary for a successful public space. It's a bench, it's a children playground, and it's a food or the dog meeting place. So that's where the discussion starts. But actually, there's also other criteria like greenery, like cozy environment, and some safety from the public transport or transport. So that's where those are the issues and criteria which are necessary. So we have continuous debates in Lithuania about especially monumental places just next to our ministry building. Sometimes successful, sometimes unsuccessful. They are always very public because everybody has an opinion about them, and it's also always a challenge to have a good example. So very happy about our successful projects with trains, bus stations, even in the smaller cities like Vilkaviškis, which have participated in Mies Award competition, and just happy to bring examples also from small cities which are very attached to individual cars and individual mobility.
Yes, I guess it has to do with also reducing the number of cars that we have in cities, and giving that public space back to people. And so, Ruta, sorry.
Yes, I was going to continue on what the Minister Simonas Gentvilas told about the quest of pandemics. Of course, there are some new limitations regarding the use of public space, but there is a new kind of a request from the society towards public space. First, the public space should be rethought and redesigned so that it could fit the requirements of pandemics and other unusual situations that we may face. Another thing, that there's much more demand for very small public spaces next to the house. This was what we witnessed during the months of pandemics, when people could not go, spend half an hour for traveling to some very big park, but they wanted just to go out inside their own courtyard or to the courtyard of a housing apartment block, and then to spend their time there. So this is a quest for the government and also for the municipalities and to the communities to redesign and to rethink public spaces of various scales. But also, I was really happy to hear about what Ivan has told about the priorities of the jury, which was public participation. Because the society here in Lithuania, they are really concerned about how those public spaces will be rebuilt or made from the scratch. They are not passive observers. They want to participate, they have their own opinion, and I think that we really need to highlight those examples when the best result, the best design is achieved working together with the society. When the professional, an architect, is providing the design, but this design follows the requests and the needs of the society.
I think that because architecture is so connected to people, to our daily emotions and so on, we become passionate and we could kind of continue speaking much longer, but there's also people probably, I'm sure, willing to know who are the 40 shortlisted, which are the 40 shortlisted works. Would you like to add something before we finish this part of the conversation?
Well, I would just say that once again, I am very happy and I feel that Lithuania is really honored that the announcement, the revelation of the 40 finalists, let's say, is happening here. I know that all the Architects Society from the whole Europe, they are waiting for this announcement. And in case there is no Lithuanian project among those 40, I am sure that the next edition we will have some, or probably we are lucky today. So go ahead, Ivan, we are waiting eagerly.
Okay.
Likewise from my side, I wish I was there with you, but happy that my colleagues are there and getting a first eyesight on the best projects in Europe this year for Niels van der Rohe Awards. And yeah, thanks for being in Lithuanian Pavilion. It's a good inspiration to have a quality architecture and urban planning projects for all the visitors who come to our pavilion.
Thank you very much. We are absolutely honored to be able to have the exhibition in the Lithuania Pavilion. I also want to thank the team from Creative Europe in Brussels, at the beginning with Hugues Begard, but also with Jutta Kastner, with Anna Rita Luterotti. They pushed to make this possible so that it could travel now from Ireland, let's say, to Lithuania, and obviously also the team of the European Union here in Dubai. And all the experts, this is a huge community. It works like a network all over Europe. So there's the experts who are the ones that nominate the Architecture Association. Ruta, we've been with you through the association and as an independent expert, asking for projects representing Lithuania in Lithuania, but also abroad. The advisory committee, politicians, so a series of institutions and museums, the jury members, the architects, the photographers. I mean, it's all a huge team that makes something like a place where we are right now possible, no? And then give it its life. So I don't want to kind of make it longer, and I would like to ask Pietro de Matteis to present the 40 shortlisted work of the 2022 EU Mies Award. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you very much. What a pressure, what a honor to be able to actually announce the 40 works that were shortlisted. First time actually I do this, so I really feel the pressure, and I know the community is waiting for this, so I'll try to do it shortly but sweet so that we can actually appreciate the moment. So indeed, as Ivan mentioned, 40 projects have been shortlisted out of 532 projects, so a very thorough review. As mentioned before, this prize has been ongoing since biannually since 1988. Focusing on social inclusion, sustainability, circularity, and aesthetic research. So really, if we think so much how the quality of our cities are linked to these principles, both in terms of quality of space and also quality of life in terms of living together. So the shortlisted project come this year from 32 cities and 18 different European countries. So this initiative is so important that actually the Commissioner for Education, Research and Youth, Maria Gabriel, sent me a message to share with you. So I will quote what she has been sharing. As you know, she's the Commissioner responsible at European level for this initiative. So I think her words are quite wise. So I'm quoting her: "Rethinking the way we are building is a must. High quality architecture is a cornerstone of European Commission approach to sustainability. In defining European architects' role as a caregiver, architecture contributes to the European Green Deal and its cultural component, the new European Bauhaus," which was mentioned also before. The EU Prize for Contemporary Architecture, the Mies van der Rohe Award, highlights the contribution of architecture to sustainable development. We need young people, architects, artists, teachers, cultural professionals, innovators, entrepreneurs, regional authorities from all over Europe to actively engage and benefit from this initiative. So this is really a call for action. And I think with this quote, maybe we can have a video.
Creative Europe, Fundación Mies Rohe, and the jury members present the 40 shortlisted works of the European Union Prize for Contemporary Architecture Mies Rohe Award 2022. La Borda, Cooperative Housing, Barcelona, La Col Arquitectura Cooperativa. 85 social housing units, Cornellà de Llobregat, Peris Toral Arquitectes. Fabra & Coats and Social Housing, Barcelona, Roldan Berenguer Arquitectes. Turó de la Peira Sports Center and Later of Block, Barcelona, Arquitectura na Noguera and J2J. Recovery of Merolas Tower, Puig-reig, Carles Enric Studio. Portas do Mar, Public Space and Car Parking, Lisbon, Carrillo da Graça Arquitectos. Marqués de Abrantes Palace, Lisbon, Trabalhar como os 99%, Cooperative and Atelier Mob. Enrico Fermi School, Turin, BDR Bureau. Pierre Blanche Cultural Center, Saint-Jean-d'Oiseau, Rouen. Nursery and Primary School, Gessela, Atelier Julien Boisdon. Student Residence and Reversible Car Park, Saclay, Baukunst and Ruta. Vertical Farm, Romainville, Ilimelgo and Secruz Architect. The Railway Farm, Paris, Bonwit and Mélanie Revet Paysagiste. Local Public Library, Tilburg, Civic Architects, Braxman Rose Architecting Bureau, Inside Outside Petra Blasi. Z33 House for Contemporary Art, Design and Architecture, Hasselt, Francesca Torzo. Gare Maritime, Brussels, Neuteringsrede. Melope, Multipurpose School Building, Ghent, Saver de Reiter Architects. Townhouse, Kingston University, London, Grafton Architects. Second home offices in Holland Park, London, Selgascano. The Hill House Box, Helensburgh, Carmody Grove. Vinmolebakken, Stavanger, Helen and Hart. Tikkurila Church and Housing, Vanta, OOPAA. Helsinki Olympic Stadium Refurbishment and Extension in Helsinki, K2S Architects and Architectit NRT. The Malt Factory in Ebeltoft, Praxis plus VMB Restoration Architects plus Christine Jensen Landscape Architecture and Morten Skovman Artist, Henry Jensen Engineers. Wadensee Center, Ribe by Dorte Mandrup Architects. Housing Rack, Prefab House in Berlin, Far Front and Rojas. Fritz, 23. Berlin, Deadline, British Jurgens and Matthew Griffin. Neue National Gallery, Berlin, David Chipperfield Architects. Prague Eyes, Riverfront Revitalization in Prague, Peter Zanda Rainbow. Local Activity Center in Rybnik, Marlena Volnik, M.W. Architecci. The Great Synagogue Memorial Park in Auschwitz. En Arquitectura, Bartosz Hadu. School Campus, in Neustift in Stubaital, Fast and Fuchs Architekten. Revitalization of a town hall in Linz, Mia 2 Architektur. Atelier House C21, Vienna, Werner Müller. Place 21, we bring the village to the city, Vienna, Einsteins Architektur. New gallery and Kerismates, New Bastion, Vienna Neustadt, Petrovich. Extension and reconstruction of the Visaforo Kindergarten in Budapest, Archicon. Market Square, 2, Architectura Kruzek and Studio KKKA. Apartment building Nimuleanu 14, Urban Spaces 2 in Bucharest, ADN Birut Architectura. And the Examinas Seaside Hotel in Korota by K Studio. Congratulations to the architects and their teams, the clients, the photographers, users and inhabitants, as well as to all those involved in the organization of the European Union Prize for Contemporary Architecture Mies Rohe Award.
A warm applause to the to these fantastic projects. Such a beautiful tour of Europe with these innovative initiatives. I'm sure some of them, you know them, so some of you are gonna visit them next time you are visiting Europe. So I want as well to congratulate again the participants of this fantastic prize. I want to announce that the five finalists that will be announced on February 16th. So write down this note. And the winners will be announced in mid-April in Brussels, and the award ceremony will be in May in Barcelona at the Mies van der Rohe Foundation location. So to conclude actually this moment, I would like to also take the occasion to mention a couple of initiatives that we are having for those of you who are interested in this key topic of urban regeneration and circular economy that we are having for the Global Goals Week here at Expo. We have tomorrow the EU Circular Economy Day, jointly organized by the pavilions of Ireland, Netherlands, Slovenia, Finland, and Poland. And we have the high-level forum, a shared sustainable recovery based on SDG at the Italian Pavilion. And then on the 21st of January, the conference on new investment models for urban innovation ecosystem. So as you know, the work of the foundation and this prize really permeates the whole presence of the European Union at Expo, and especially this week for the Global Goals Week. So it's all for me. Thank you very much once again. Maybe I give again the floor to Romas for the final words. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pietro de Matteis. Thank you, Ruta, you are still following us, I see. Thank you, Ivan. Really, it was a pleasure working with you during these days before opening exhibition. I hope now our visitors of the Lithuanian Pavilion have much more to see. They always had what to see here, but now they have even more. As you heard from Pietro last words, that still way to awards is long. We will wait until February 16th, and we will have 5 lucky participants. Then the winner will be known only in May, or no, in the middle of April, but the award will be given in May. But today I'd like to use this opportunity and to express our thankfulness to those people to those institutions who helped us to make it possible. First of all, to the European Union, and also to Mies van der Rohe Foundation. I'd like to invite my colleague and friend, Pavilion Director Matteis, to help me a bit. We have our awards, which does not force you to wait that long. We'd like to give 2 awards, one to my colleague, Mr. Pietro. This is flower of desert, symbol of our pavilion. It goes to your institution and to you personally. And the other goes to Foundation Mies van der Rohe, Mr. Ivan Blasi, who helped so much for us to install this beautiful exhibition in this beautiful house of the Pavilion of Lithuania. Thank you. And now, last but not least, I invite all of you. I see that there are more architecture lovers and architecture professionals, like our colleagues from Singapore Pavilion joined us, and maybe somebody from Poland. It is not easy to gather companies during these COVID days, but we even more are happy that you are with us. And I'd like to invite everybody now to continue discussions and informal communication in our cozy wooden, very sustainable terrace, and try Lithuanian tastes and flavors. Thank you very much once again for coming and for taking part here. Thank you.